Washington state has the most regressive taxes in the nation, forcing poor and working class people to carry the lion's share of the tax burden and face criminally underfunded housing, education, healthcare, and services for not just years but generations through Democrat and Republican administrations. This is the fourth year in a row when Democrats have controlled all houses of the state government, the Senate, the House, and the governor's mansion, also true of 15 of the last 30 years. In that time, what we have seen out of Olympia is more and more regressive taxes on working people, alongside corporate tax breaks for Boeing and other big corporations, papered over with empty rhetoric about progressive taxation. This morning, council members claimed it is relationships among establishment politicians that get progressive things done. The reality could not be farther from the truth. Progressive victories are won by mass working class movements that force the political establishment to concede against their will despite big business opposition. This was true of the $15 an hour minimum wage. It was true of the Amazon tax we won last year. It was true of all the renters' rights victories we have won in the last 7 years. It has been true throughout history. The Amazon tax we won in Seattle last year was only made possible because of the Tax Amazon movement gathering 30,000 signatures with powerful support from the Black Lives Matter street protests, creating a credible threat of a ballot measure if the city council did not pass taxes on big business. If big business taxes are going to be passed in Olympia without a corresponding attack on our Amazon tax, it will only be because of mass movements. Last year, there was legislation for a very small statewide big business tax. At the same time, behind the scenes, big business and Mayor Durkin attempted to use it as a vehicle to ban or preempt Seattle's Amazon tax. If that big business tax with preemption had passed last year in Olympia, it would have, on balance, been a corporate tax cut because the county-wide corporate tax the state was considering was smaller than what our tax Amazon movement ended up winning in Seattle. The tax Amazon movement went to Olympia, ironically, this very day a year ago, to demand that state Democrats urgently pass big business taxes without attacking Seattle's ability to pass a big business tax. Because of the strength of our movement exposing the real agenda of the Democratic Party, the politicians were not able to win preemption, but that also meant that they did not pass any big business taxes at all. This revealed what was really happening. The only reason big business was even contemplating conceding to a small statewide tax is if they got the real price they wanted, dealing a massive blow to the working people's movements in Seattle. When that was no longer viable for state Democrats to deliver because of how our movement exposed them, big business walked away from any deals they were previously willing to negotiate. During council briefing this morning, council members have asked why a resolution was needed given that support for progressive taxes and against preemption is part of the state legislative agenda that Seattle's state lobbyists use as a guide. It is very much needed because support for progressive revenue has been part of Seattle's state legislative official agenda year after year, and that has gone nowhere. One definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing but to expect different results. It is either insanity we are seeing or it is loyalty to big business. What do we think? Last year, Seattle's state legislative agenda said, quote, "We support comprehensive tax reform that leads to a more equitable and progressive tax structure," end quote. Obviously, that did not happen. Here we are. Council members point to the momentum for progressive taxes in Olympia with several bills introduced. Well, I challenge council members to find 1 year where there was not a capital gains tax and big business tax bills introduced in Olympia or proposed by the governor. Yet somehow the old regressive tax structure remains unchanged. This resolution was needed because, as we saw in public comment today, when there is a council resolution, then people can call into the council meeting and speak in favor of it, building their own organizing power. It is needed because last year the council sent a letter to legislators stating, quote, "Instead of contemplating preemption, the state should provide additional progressive taxation options to municipalities, end quote. But the legislators did not provide additional progressive taxation options. It is needed because, again, this year, while the threat of preemption has been far more hush hush, a January 4th crosscut article made it clear that it continues to be a serious threat. That article quotes state Democrats saying things like, it remains an open question what happens with Seattle. Likely, we'd have to carve out Seattle, and that the state legislation might phase out the Seattle tax over time. These are all quotes from Democratic legislators, self professed progressive Democratic state legislators. The premise of that article is that a big business tax in Olympia would be a double tax, which is absurd because corporate taxes in Washington state are so small and working people are routinely double, triple, quadruple taxed by every jurisdiction with regressive taxes like sales and property taxes. Our resolution that the city council refused to even give us a courtesy second on was needed because capitalism is in its worst crisis in a century, in which ordinary people face unemployment, massive debt, and a horrifying pandemic. Working people are struggling to survive while the billionaires have made over $1 trillion. The resolution, which the city council refused to support, the city council Democrats refused to support, urged Washington state legislators to approve statewide taxes on big business and the super rich and opposes any preemption, such as a ban, limitation, or phasing out of Seattle's authority to tax big business and the rich. Well, all these progressive Democrats, the progressive Democratic establishment, they thoroughly exposed themselves today yet again that they are not really on the side of working people. This is a reminder for ordinary working people, those of us, hundreds of us, who fought to win the Amazon tax last year, everybody who walked on the streets in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. We need to remember, this is a reminder for us that the Democratic establishment is not on our side. We need to build our strength independently on the ground with working people, union members, non-unionized workers, young people, struggling small businesses, community members, socialists, all coming together in solidarity against the pandemic profiteers and their political representatives. So I urge you all to join us, join the Tax Amazon movement on Saturday, February 20th, to march, to go in our car caravan, socially distanced, COVID safe car caravan to the Amazon spheres in Seattle South Lake Union to show the strength of our movement, and also at the same time to be in solidarity with the courageous Amazon warehouse workers in Bessemer, Alabama, the Bamazon workers, the predominantly Black and women workers who are fighting the most powerful corporation and some of the most powerful multimillionaires and billionaires in their struggle to unionize. We know that if the Bessemer Amazon Union succeeds, then this could be a historic turning point for working people and the labor movement nationwide, and could be a heralding of the proud fighting militant traditions of the American labor movement. So stand with the Tax Amazon movement, stand with the Amazon workers in Bessemer, Alabama. Come to the COVID safe socially distanced car caravan on Saturday, February 20th at the Amazon Spheres. Thank you so much.